Hello my rosebuds and welcome back to the Nava Rose channel. So today's video is going to be a new thrift video. I was planning this video for like the longest time. I actually filmed it back in January so I could do like a new year, new thrift flip video, but then it's already like February. So it's kind of like new-ish year, new thrift flip, if that makes any sense. Speaking of thrift flips, I just posted a ton of stuff on my Poshmark. If you guys are unfamiliar with Poshmark, it's an app on your phone where you guys can buy and sell used clothing. So it's basically like thrifting, but on your phone, so it's way more convenient. You guys can download and check out the app using the link down in my description box, so go ahead and check that out. And if you guys are new to my channel, welcome, and don't forget to subscribe down below and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on the next time that I post. I also posted a newish kind of video talking about my favorite sewing tips and tricks, so definitely check that out, especially if you're a beginner, because I think it'll help you a lot. And I also use a lot of tricks from that video in these tutorials, so you'll definitely be able to see those. And with that being said, let's jump into these tutorials. So first we're going to start with the button-up dress, since I feel it's pretty easy and universal. I mean, come on, we're just basically using a men's button-up shirt here. You could find that anywhere. Also, don't mind how wrinkly it is. At the time, I didn't think that it was necessary to iron it, but now I'm seeing that it is very necessary. For this tutorial, you'll need a men's button-up shirt. It doesn't have to be super oversized because, as you saw in the previous clips, it barely stopped at my butt. A ruler, a tool to mark your fabric, some pins, and scissors. First things first, we're gonna need to cut off the sleeves and the collar. Then you want to lightly draw the shape that you want for your neckline. I started in the middle where the pocket is, and then I curved it up to make a V. Think of making the shape of a tank top. And as you guys can see, I'm using this soap hack from my sewing tips and tricks video. I'm using this instead of the fabric marker that I filmed in my materials shot. Leave about ½ inch of space from the line that you drew for the seam allowance, and then you could cut off the rest. Fold your shirt in half and copy and cut the shape onto the other side. Draw a new shape for the back of the shirt. I continue the curve and then I made a straight line for the center back, kind of what you would see on an overall dress. This time you guys can cut right on the line you drew since there's already seam allowance added. And this is what it should end up looking like from the side view. Now you need to finish off the raw edge. You can do that by either a basic fold over hem or a rolled hem, which I'm gonna do. So I'm doing a rolled hem to finish off my edge, but before I get to hemming, I always cut mini slits along the curved edge because it just makes the hemming way easier, as you guys can see. Doing a rolled hem does take a little bit longer, but I think it's a cleaner look and it lasts longer than a basic fold over hem. To do that, all you do is roll the edge twice, pin it down, and sew a straight stitch along the edge to hold it in place. Before hemming your edge, make sure you unbutton the front placket so you don't accidentally sew the opening together. I mean, technically, because the neck is so wide open that you can sew the placket together, but personally, I feel like I would want it unbuttoned just for like options, you know? See how nice and clean it looks, you guys? Make sure you keep an even and consistent distance from the stitch to the edge of the shirt. So now onto the straps. I just took the sleeves and I marked how thick I needed to cut them to match the dress. And the little marks I made are to add seam allowance. I cut the long strip on the sleeve fold, that way the material's already doubled for me. Repeat this process to the other sleeve to make your second strap. So this clip is a little blurry, but I sewed a straight stitch along the edge of the strap to make a tunnel. After that, I turned it inside out with my hands. Then I folded along the seam and pinned it so that it can stay flat while I sew a straight stitch across it to hold it in place. Since the other side is a fold, it's already flat, so I just added pins to hold it down. And just like the rolled hem, I sewed a straight stitch along the edge on both sides of the strap. Once your strap is all top stitched and looking cute, you want to attach it to the dress. Match up the raw edges and sew a straight stitch across so that when it folds over, it's a clean seam. It should look something like this. So I tried it on just to make sure I was loving the fit before I sewed the straps to the back, and you know what? I was not loving the fit. It was just not cute. It was way too oversized and frumpy, but after I played around with it, I realized that it looked a lot cuter if I made the strap skinnier. Alright, so I went back in and all I did was fold the straps in half to make it smaller. I could have literally avoided all of this that I'm doing in the second half of this tutorial if I just made the straps smaller to begin with. So you know what? Learn from my mistakes and just draw your shape out correctly and the way you want it to, or else you'll be doing double the work like I'm doing right now. So yep, basically the same thing. Cut slits along the curve so you can refold your hem. Here you can see that I'm cutting off the original rolled hem that I made and then refolding it, basically starting all over and redoing the same exact steps. So this is what it looks like after I sewed the new hems on both sides. It looks a lot skinnier and a lot nicer. The overall shape was just too big, maybe because the shirt was wider than it was longer, so I decided to fold it over at the side seam to make a pleat. I'm just pinning along the top edge because I will be sewing the top and then a little bit down the side to hold the pleat together. And lastly, we have the back to finish. I folded the edge of the back over and marked it so I know where the fold lays. Then I took the strap and marked how far down I wanted to sew it. I copied the length to the other strap so that they would be the same, and then I cut off the excess. Then I matched up the markings with the right sides kissing and pinned it together so I know where to sew. After you sew a straight stitch across and turn it right side out, it should look something like this. I sewed the straps to the back of the dress, and because I didn't do a rolled hem this time, I decided to sew a zigzag stitch on the raw edge so that it wouldn't fray too much. This is actually 100% totally optional, you don't have to do this. But if you are interested, I use these settings for my zigzag stitch. To finish off the dress, fold it right side out and pin down the seam allowance. From there, sew a stitch along the top to hold it down and you are done. And here's the final look. I liked how it paired with a white tee, but you know what? I think a turtleneck would look cute with it too. It does seem to be a little bit more on the boxy side, so that's why I suggest not getting a shirt that's super oversized to begin with. You know what? After this tutorial, I was like, wow, this shirt overall dress is super cute. And then I realized that it looks a whole lot like those work aprons that they wear at Home Depot. So you can guess where I went to shoot next. It's honestly just the color. I think if it was any other color than orange, it would not look like a Home Depot worker's outfit. Otherwise, I think it would look cute in like a denim button-up or maybe even a flannel, like a plaid material. I think that would be really cute. And I said cute a million times already. I'm so sorry. Now I'm going to show you guys how I took these oversized pair of pants and flipped them into these high-waisted bell bottoms. I originally saw this photo and I figured I could totally DIY these jeans to get the same look or similar to it. What you need are some jeans, ones without back pockets, and that's because it's really hard to take in side seams with back pockets, some scissors, and pins. Also, between these tutorials, I happened to 1, ruin my pink table, and 2, I also got my nails done so they're yellow now, but I literally broke a nail the next day, so there's that. So continuing onto this tutorial, first I turned my jeans inside out and marked along the side seam of how much I wanted to take off. It ended up being a lot, so in total I took off 3 inches off each side of the waistband. Then I pinned down along the marking to make sure everything stays in place while I cut off the excess material. And as usual, I left about ½ an inch from the marking to make my seam allowance. Fold over that leg and copy it onto the other leg. Since the one that you cut already has extra space for seam allowance, you can cut right on the marking for this leg. I repinned the sides just so I could add more pins and to make it easier while I'm sewing, but you know what, you don't really have to do this, it's just my preference. Then sew a straight stitch along both sides. To copy the fraying at the top, I cut off the top stitch that ran across the waistband. I also had to cut off the tops of the belt loops in order to do so. Then I added a top stitch a little bit down from the top edge of the waistband to ensure that the jeans don't fray too much in the wash, but honestly this is optional because it never really frays that much. After that's done, just refold the belt loop and use a tight zigzag stitch to attach it back onto the jeans. I use these stitch settings to recreate the stitch, in case you were wondering. I also ran out of the rust colored threads, so the colors don't really match, but I mean, I tried my best, okay? I really wanted to make a denim tie for the waist, and for that I just wish I had a long strip of denim material, but I didn't. So I had to cut strips out of the scraps that I found from the side seam. The most I was able to cut out was 4 strips total, and the way that I connected them was by matching the ends so that they were perpendicular, and then you want to sew a straight stitch from one corner to the other corner so that when it opens up, it's a straight strip. Then to make the tie, I folded the strip in thirds and sewed a straight stitch down the middle to hold it all in place. Throw your jeans in the washing machine to fray the top and you are totally done. I really wish the jeans frayed more than it did, but I'm gonna play around with them and maybe do some tweezer magic to pull out some of the blue threads, so hopefully you could see more white fray. But yeah, anyways, I'm just really happy with how these turned out. I was never ever into pocketless jeans, but you know what? They do kind of make your booty look cute. I mean, it would have been way cuter if I wore the correct underwear because you could totally see my panty line. I am just saying. But look, I was on my period and I wasn't thinking, okay? I really love how these jeans turned out, and there are so many jeans like this at the thrift store, so you guys can go crazy and upcycle a bunch of pocketless jeans. So that concludes my tutorial video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and I hope you guys liked the tutorials that I did. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I'll try to put out more DIY fashion, thrift flip videos, what am I trying to say? Thrift flip videos for you guys. Again, don't forget to check out the Poshmark link in my description box because I did post a lot of new stuff. And lastly, if you guys want to connect with me on social media, all my socials are at TheNavarRose. That is all I have for you guys for this video, and I will see you guys in my next one.